The best parallel for Hazelight Studios would be to label them the FROMSOFTWARE of co-op games. They create games based on their strength, but they've also established a reliability for excellence. Split Fiction isn't dissimilar to Hazelight's previous work. It's been slightly expanded and refined, but for me, it's the pinnacle of their portfolio. The story is broader yet more engaging, the experience is longer yet more concise, the writing has greater authenticity, and the creativity somehow exceeds their previous best. Split Fiction is pure fun from beginning to end. There is no denying that It Takes Two was a smashing success on multiple levels, but on a story level, it failed to resonate with me, and I start here because this is where Hazelight have made the most improvements with Split Fiction. Split Fiction is about Zoe and Mio, two struggling writers who are trying to break into the industry, one with a penchant for escapism in fantasy worlds and one for science fiction. Both aspirational writers have been offered a vague opportunity at Raider, a giant publishing house, in hopes that this will be the moment that turns their lives around. This opportunity quickly appears too good to be true as it begins to look like a science experiment instead. Each writer is given the opportunity to become suspended in a bubble where they will be able to live inside of their stories. Mio begins to sense something is wrong and changes her mind about the procedure, but in the process of trying to leave, she ends up in the same suspension as Zoe, where their worlds collide. It's only due to them being trapped together inside these suspensions that Mio and Zoe learn that the machine's only purpose is to harvest and steal their creative ideas. This story feels extremely relevant and was clearly an analog to the push that we have seen from many large corporations to embrace AI and replace artists, which is already happening. Their only way out is to puzzle and platform their way through each story inside of their minds, and by doing so, we learn how their personal trauma is reflected in their art. This is something that AI can't do, as it lacks the ability to replicate the human condition. The story in Split Fiction is given authenticity and emotional weight thanks to the writing and voice acting that feels genuine. Although the story begins with evil corporations, it wades into emotionally deeper territory about how everyone needs help, which is reflected in the co-op gameplay. In addition to the main story, there are 12 different lengthy side story portals to find that will help develop these two characters even further. This also serves as a vessel for Hazelight to explore themes that didn't fit inside of science fiction or fantasy. The plot and the gameplay have incredible synergy as we bounce back and forth through mesmerizing worlds. There is almost a breakneck pace at which the mechanics will shift, as you never know what's coming around the next corner. The result is gameplay that constantly surprises you with new ideas and experiences that feel inspired from a broad spectrum of sources, including Spider-Man, Portal, Metal Gear Solid, Donkey Kong Country, Metroid, and Dead Space, just to name a few. This time around, Split Fiction ratchets up the difficulty from their previous work. There will be moments that will have you on the edge of your seat with sweaty palms, especially if you are less experienced. Split Fiction features worlds that are stunning, but more importantly, perform flawlessly. On multiple occasions, the visuals are awe-inspiring, not because they were pushing the envelope on a graphical level, but because of the confidence of the art direction. Whether you're driving up a neon-soaked skyscraper in a cyberpunk-inspired backdrop, or flying on the back of a dragon across a world reminiscent of Tolkien. It wasn't always stunning, as there were a few moments that didn't meet the expectations set by the rest of the game, but most of these instances were limited to a few cutscenes. Most of the criticism comes down to the difficulty of Split Fiction. There is no way to adjust outside of damage per player, which means that tough platforming sections could pose a problem. The silver lining is that the controls are precise, and this means that failure is only skill related and not gameplay mechanics. With enough practice, timing, and communication, anything was possible. There is the option to skip to the next checkpoint, but that removes the sense of accomplishment. Something along the lines of an extra jump would have helped players that needed the assistance, but not remove the rewarding aspect altogether. The boss fights were sometimes unclear, but also came with erratic difficulty spikes, which would lead to some frustration and failure. Luckily, the checkpoints are very friendly and the respawns are relatively fast. Some of the epic set pieces required sustained success, which is a lot to ask of inexperienced players, and another way that it would have eased the frustration would have been to implement a mechanic in certain areas where the players were allowed to switch jobs after a certain amount of failures. If one person isn't good at driving, it would offer you a prompt to switch if the players both agreed to it. There are a few minor profanities used and a couple of instances of violence throughout the entire journey, but for the most part, Split Fiction is a fantastic adventure for all ages. With a little patience from both parties, it's a great way to share your passion for gaming with your close loved ones, no matter the age or experience level. As someone who liked It Takes Two but was less enthusiastic than most due to the storytelling, I am elated to learn that not only have Hazelight continued to refine the gameplay and push the limits of creativity, but they have also refined their writing. Split Fiction was full of moments of genuine laughter, but equally full of emotion. Split Fiction is a game that gets better as it progresses. At the beginning, sections bordered on overstaying their welcome, but as the journey unfolded, I quickly found myself not wanting to leave these incredible worlds. Split Fiction was a perpetual flow of endless variety and pure fun, accented by a very resonant story. Hazelight have solidified themselves as masters of the co-op adventure, and Split Fiction is best in class. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and find a lot more like it. Video games is a positivity-first gaming outlet. We believe that gaming should be a force for good. We focus on making uplifting content with constructive discussions and celebrating what makes games great. That's all for today, and until next time, be good to your fellow gamer, but more importantly, be better to your fellow human.